But let's see what we can do here in Game 2 as we move in between these two squads. I mean, if you're Trifecta, how do you regroup after that one? They had to have felt like they'd managed to pull that game back, give themselves a fighting chance, and then we can just snatch it away.
You defend your Titan.
You send some people back, you say?
You just send at least one person back. Weekend was committed to that play. Trifecta were not committed to their own Titan.
Not in that game. And in the end, we could be able to kind of walk in and just smack it a couple times, and Fire Minions are more than enough to bring it down. Trifecta, though, are going to be trying to regroup here in Game 2. They will be the first pick selection, and they've taken the Circuit Terra off the board. Meanwhile, LG have banned away the Xbalanque.
I'm surprised that the Terra is just not left open for Trifecta. If your first pick, Terra is a game-changing kind of goddess. Absolutely. With the Earth and Fury. We saw it actually CLG on Jigs, where it was able to destroy all of Splice every single time that it was in Jigs' hands.
They're going to ban away the Athena as well, our LG. That means Guan Yu is going to be first selected here for them yet again. We saw this last time. Neil played it, was able to get some great plays off for them, but sometimes Weekend just takes your Titan while you're not there. It doesn't matter how well you play the Guan Yu.
That's very true.
We'll see if maybe they can make it happen here this time.
And it was a very interesting idea out of LG to have Weekend on the Erlangchen, to have Kiki on the Thor. Soul Lane Thor used to be very popular around Season 2, Season 3, where you're able to still invest into an early 500 gold red potion, get that extra 20 physical power, but it fell off once we prevented it from being purchasable at level 1. You no longer really saw the Thor global pressure out of the Soul Lane.
Sylvanus Hachiman selected here for LG. So again, very similar to what we saw in Game 1. The early duo pressure that they're going to be able to establish for themselves, and then into the Raijin. Oh, yeah, okay. So maybe it ain't too broke.
Not too broke, honestly.
Why fix it?
Paul was doing well. Zapman was doing well on their gods. They just need to clean up some of the objective control, because also keep in mind when they sieged the middle Phoenix around the 30-minute mark, NeiruMah got blown up too quickly and the rest of the siege attempt got collapsed under its feet before it even took off. But the counter push was stopped by Scary D Cerberus. The Stygian Torment allowed Trifecta to at least still kill some members. Zapman got a double kill in that skirmish, and that's what prevented LG from closing the game out right there.
These are still very similar. The Fafnir Ratatosk being banned away by LG, and the Achilles and the Nemesis are being taken away now. If any last time's any indication, and they went the Erlangchen Thor, I have a hard time believing they want to run back that Thor in the solo lane. There were a couple times during the fights where it did help out, but it did not have the best game, and that is going to be where we're seeing that change up. It'll be the Mercury on LG's side this time.
It's very true. I like this switch up now because it was the Erlangchen in this position in the last game. Having a global pressure god that's more reliable onto Weekend's hands should allow LG more freedom in the side lanes.
Now it is going to be the NotGeno picked up by Trifecta without the Mercury available to themselves. They did pair this, though, with that Cerberus, and you talked a little bit about it. Scary D actually played very well on this Cerberus, getting multiple big Stygian Torments to try and help set up for the rest of the squad, find the stuns. He had to survive a lot of early ganks in the 2v1 early too. I don't mind putting him back on this.
I agree with you. He was very accurate with the paralyzing spit, stunning multiple members, and keep in mind that with how aggressive Paul wants to be with the Raijin, the Ghastly Breath, that extra magical penetration, allows more burst damage items from Paul to synergize with the penetration coming from Scary D Cerberus.
Kiki's allowed to play the normal soul laners, right? Like everybody else?
No, he's not allowed.
Oh, okay.
It's in his contract.
Like
There's
the
a fine
bylaws. Right, yeah. So playing the Cabrakan, possibly. I mean, you know, this LG squad likes to kind of throw things around. But I think very likely it'll be Weekend on this Mercury and Cabrakan over there in the solo lane. Does give you a very strong Guardian who feels much like a warrior, and means you can split that magical physical damage.
It's also the fat Loki of all the magical Guardians, being able to get in and get out. Does a lot of damage, and you're trying to make the impact and, you know, zone people out of team fights with the Tectonic Shift. I'm expecting a lot of grouping in the mid game from Luminosity.
There are a lot of jumps, though. Shouldn't be too hard to get around those walls. The Cabrakan definitely can have some value for him. We'll see how well Kiki is going to be able to pilot it. Which way are you leaning on these two drafts here, Toby?
If LG gets a late game, I like their composition. Agni, Mercury, Cabrakan, it makes a lot of sense, but Trifecta have the sustain with the Guan Yu as well. It's a battle of the jungles. If Mask can get off to a better start than Weekend, I think Trifecta get this.
Sounds like we're leaning a little bit toward Trifecta here on the desk. We'll go ahead and get it over to the casters and see what happens in game.
Gotta say, I completely agree with Anatoly here. Battle of the Junglers, Mask on one of his go-to choices of Naja, and Weekend on one of his go-to choices of Mercury. I mean, he has a team skin. He's got NV Merc, right? Like, he's done this.
That skin happened for a reason. It's because Weekend's got a pretty sick Mercury. And same could be said for Mask on the Ninja, though. I remember when Mask was first starting to break into the competitive scene even. Everybody was trying to figure out which team he was going to land up on. But he's done a pretty nice job for himself, I think. And the hard carry assassins, I think that's what Ninja really screams to me. And I think that fits Mask to a T.
Without a doubt. Mask has proven to be, Aggro has said it on camera a number of times, Mask has proven to be maybe the best jungler in North America. I mean, when you look at the top teams in NA, their junglers have kind of faltered a little bit. And Mask has been consistently attempting to bring his team the wins. Let us know in Mixer chat if you guys think that it's going to be Mask in his squad, or if we end the day early and it's just going to be LG. Let's get right into it and see game number 2 here. Because frankly, like I said, I mean, I could not have said it better than Anatoly. Whichever jungler runs this game is who we're celebrating here. It's that simple to me. It's that simple.
It could be a tough one to call, though. I almost have a feeling that both of these junglers could end up popping off, but after what we saw last game between Zapman and Clout, it's hard to tell who's going to wind up on top here. I have a hard time believing that Trifecta are going to go down without a fight, though, against Luminosity, but then again, I have to also keep in mind, Trifecta actively chose not to back and defend an Erlang Shen pushing into their Titan with a fire wave.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it just happens. I mean...
Oh, the auto-attack steal!
Sometimes it just happens. I mean... that seems to be the way the world has gone for Geno. In fact, I'm going to tell Geno, go buy a lottery ticket, son. You have been wildly lucky. And I suppose that there is a real skill component there as well, but everything is turning up Geno today, so go buy a lotto ticket.
You might end up taking your advice if they close out this set early here, as Mass looks to get some poke damage against Keeks and a Weekend, but it's all about Kiki. Kiki's playing hyper aggressive on the Cabrakan. I like that he's looking to take up a fight, and all the while, Ninja, Raijin, that's such a tough combination to fight into, but that's going to be Weekend forcing out the purification beads. That's important.
If Mask lets himself get wrapped up there, it's certainly a death. So important to use the beads there. And yeah, Mask on this Ninja. This was the character that really did Mask in for me. When people were talking about Mask and I hadn't seen it yet, because I don't play in those top-end ranked games, right? You know, so I don't see players till they really hit this or start scrimming. When people were talking about Mask, I was like, yeah, sure, let's see what he's got. And he brought out this Ninja and just soloed an entire team. And I said, okay.
To be fair to you, though, it's almost impossible to know when Mask is actually queuing ranked because he's got a bajillion Smurfs that he likes to do it with.
That's fair. That's fair. Most of these pros do, though. And it can be tough, I guess, you know, loading into a game and everybody just expecting you to LeBron on everybody. So.
I expect all my teammates to LeBron always.
Yes, Taco. You have I think I would say that's unrealistic is what I would go for.
You don't believe in your team?
I believe in my ability to work within my random match-made team. Of course, yes.
Yeah, that question's never going to end well for either of us, to be honest. Is Clout and Geno still looking to get the pressure going, though, and it's a bit surprising, though, but now it's going to be Weekend wrapping around the backside of Scary D. Scary hasn't had a chance to jump away just yet.
Yeah, the jump finally comes off cooldown, and Weekend's going to miss the wrap. So Scary D able to walk away from that one, but does have to go on back to base.
If Weekend catches that wraparound, that's the first blood, no doubt. But I like the way that he's piloting this Mercury, so aggressive, using that dash as in such a threatening way. That's kind of forcing Trifecta to play back.
Yeah, I like it a lot now because it's good now. Special delivery is an ability. I don't know. It reminds me of late game Circuits, right? Where you go and Circuit ult somebody, but you die before anything good happens off of it. That's what you see from Weekend, or excuse me, from late game Mercuries that don't use special delivery correctly. Because you go in and you get the wrap, and before you get to throw them, you're just being killed by Paul and Scary D and Mask. So right now, yeah, this is when you can use it. Use special delivery aggressive early and often.
Both of these junglers, though, definitely feel like heavy commitment type of gods. I mean,
oh yeah,
it's two separate ways as well. Mask, you might take somebody up into the air and look to isolate them from a team fight, but as soon as you land, you're usually a sitting duck if your team doesn't find the pick. And I think that's why we saw him giving Weekend so much respect in the mid lane. He probably could have opted for a Sash turnaround play and look for maybe a passive crit that could have happened, and that would have been nice. Or utilize the Sash to get a little bit more crit damage going. And even then, though, it's still just so tough to call it at times with how close it can be.
Kiki gonna get ulted, and Mask right here. Stunned out, and the ult. 1 shot, 2, and 3. And the solo laner finds his death. Mask with the first blood for Trifecta.
Kiki just with nowhere left to run. That meditation still sitting on cooldown for another 20 seconds because he used it when Weekend was off the mark with that dash and took a tower shot.
Oh, Geno, a hair off the mark. A rare missed pull. I feel like he's earned that statement from me. Paul dashing forward, and Keegs looked like he was going for it, but Weekend lines himself up for the ultimate. Paul still in trouble. Gonna head back to base nice and quickly.
Missed abilities are just leading into missed chances, it feels, for Luminosity, and they've got to shape it up. Otherwise, it's going to be Trifecta slowly but surely working their way into an early game lead.
I mean, look at the difference between the two junglers. We said that this is a battle of the jungle. Well, Mask 2 levels ahead of Weekend right now. Got to keep that one in mind.
Weekend probably just happy that he isn't having his own jungle invaded just yet.
Yet, I think, is the key part of that statement.
And I say that because Kiki just died, and now we can clearly tell Mask has the same intentions one more time to see if he can put this Cabrakan back into base.
Yeah, looking forward to second time. Ring toss is good. Will slow down Kiki, but immune because of the 1. Now, ultimate available. Not so for Mask. Couple of seconds still left on that one, and that one hurts because Mask sits there and goes, if I delayed my gank for 5 seconds, we're good. But he's still sticking around. Mask has the ultimate available now. Weekend around the corner, though. And this is it's a purgatory. They're not sure if they want to go in or out.
They know he's there, and they're not trying to risk it. Speaking of risk it, Keeks going to dash away. The moment that Paul dashes forward, actually a little bit more diagonal.
Yeah.
I should state, speaking of which, Kiki now going to get pulled back out of the tower because of that Stingent Torment.
Love the pathing Kiki takes, though, understanding that the jungler is going to cut underneath, cuts up on top, dissuading Mask from really going too deep. Full rotation from LG as well, bringing Keegs over here to the right-hand side. A lot of good response coming out from both of these teams. Trifecta did get first blood, folks, but we are still, there's a tie game very close to it, and I think both teams are responding to trouble very well.
Paul especially, I think, is responding to a lot of keegsmate aggression very well. He knows that Mask isn't there to try and assist him because Mask has been spending a little bit more time with Scary D over in solo, looking to punish Kiki for that meditation pickup, knowing he doesn't have the purification beads. And he wants an early lead, but Paul is also a Raijin who is susceptible to dying in the early game, and that's why we see Keeks trying to find the picks where he can.
And it's been Paul has been playing. I mean, the way Paul is playing, and this is, I always talk about the butterfly effect and how what you do affects your teammates so importantly. Paul, because of how safe he's been successfully just getting out of every jam. That allows Mask to be elsewhere. That allows Mask to get first blood. If Paul is being pressured and dying as a result of said pressure, Mask has to spend more time in that middle lane. But because he's got a mid laner that knows what he's doing, what a luxury. And he just goes, "You good?" And he says, "Yeah."
Also, notice how Kiki waits to see what Scary D's first ability is going to be. He drops the Tremors and then cancels it because he's waiting for Scary D to try and use that paralyzing spit against him to find the stun. Instead, Kiki gets to turn it around onto Scary D. Both Weekend and Mask looking to punish these solos.
Weekend here, lining up the ultimate. Mask, just waiting. I don't think they know Weekend's there, but everybody knows Mask is here. Weekend still hidden from both players in the solo side. Weekend lining up. Cabrakan ult could be bad. Weekend misses again on the special delivery. Feeds are good. Mask has used the ultimate, so he doesn't have to worry about that one. And Weekend doesn't get the kill there, and I think that does hurt a little bit. But more importantly, he defends his solo laner.
That's all he was really waiting for, though.
Yeah.
He doesn't bother trying to catch Scary D with that ultimate. He knows that the Sonic Boom, he could definitely trap Scary D underneath. And NeiruMah actually getting very frisky there with Weekend. uses that Guan ult to chase him down back into the T1.
Yeah, they're just trying to keep Weaken down, right? Mask has a healthy 1.5 level lead above Weaken, and they're very happy about that, they being Trifecta. Weaken has gone for the katana instead of the stone-cutting sword, so early game is not what he's looking for whatsoever. He's looking a little bit later.
I actually like the hasten katana here as opposed to the stone cutting that we saw from Mask in the last game, and I say that mostly because hasten is going to make sure that even if there is some interrupt factor involved against Weaken, he's still going to get the additional movement speed that funnels into his passive and will help him with some more physical power there.
Yep.
But also, it's Fatalis.
Yeah.
Pretty much. You can stick to just about anybody, and I'm looking mostly towards NeiruMah, because if a Mercury starts slapping away at a Guan Yu, you're going to expect him to jump right onto that horse and try to run away, or look for the cancel early on to maybe set up Trifecta against Weaken. So either way, this is some strong opportunities that Weaken could possibly develop throughout the match.
I mean, this is, when it comes down to this build versus the stone-cutting sword build, this is pure play style. I think both builds will execute what Merc wants to do, because at the end of the day, you're building crit next, right? That's really what Merc's doing. He's just critting you in the face. 50 extra power makes those crits heavier and will supplement your lackluster early game, but the katana is going to amplify your mid game and allow you to chase down players that might have escaped had you not been able to catch up to them. So hasten katana versus stone cutting sword, this is one of the rare applications where I actually think it's just, what do you prefer playing? I don't think there is a right answer here, and I think that's part of what kind of allows our game to be fun.
It's also one of the fun parts of competitive where you can really tell that every game is just build dependent. Speaking of which,
What on
Zapman,
earth?
he knew.
I mean, he dies anyway, but he jumps over the Mercury ultimate?
That's
with
just
a
the
whole
reaction
Yi?
time. Well, you get to see it before it actually lands on you. It's all about your reflexes here in competitive play.
Oh, man.
Well done by Zapman to try and get out of the way. If he jumps backward, he still dies. Maybe just a little bit faster, but now it's up to Trifecta to try and defend against this Gold Fury.
They pull it back. Gold Fury is going to go the way of Luminosity. What a play by LG. I loved the juke. Geno going to heal up a little bit thanks to some meditation. Mask in trouble. Clout takes him down. Paul goes with the ultimate. Gets one. Gets two. The first one. Now here's three. KikiSoCheeky pulled up and pushed down if Trifecta have their way, and they will. Double kill for Paul. That's a triple kill in my mind. I know that Scary D got credit for the first kill, but that was all Paul, baby.
That's a huge swing for Trifecta, more importantly, which you wouldn't expect because it was Luminosity who gets the first Gold Fury. But the important part here is that it's the first one. It happened around the 11.5-minute mark. That's not worth nearly as much as just killing 3 members from Luminosity straight up.
Look at the graph. Right there. Black and white. I guess red and blue. But still. Spelled out very easily. There it is. And what I really, really loved about that play was Luminosity, they leash the initial, oh no, here comes Naja with the ring bounce, right? They leash it, and they go, wait a second, just finish the damn thing before everybody else show up. I think 9 times out of 10, other teams just full eject and run away. I love Luminosity's understanding of their window of opportunity there.
Sometimes you have to make the tough decision because it's almost impossible to be successful and competitive without taking the risk eventually. And that, to me, I wouldn't call it a 50-50 toss-up straight away. I think that Luminosity were definitely favored to secure that, but it's just the possibility of a Naja spam toss slowing your team. It's the fight after the fact. Luminosity didn't need to take it. I think they got a little bit baited out, seeing Kiki land a nice stun. It dealt some decent burst damage, but everybody forgot about Paul.
That seems to be the issue here. I think a lot of our teams need to eat, what is it, ginkgo biloba that helps your memory? It's like a thing that helps your memory.
Hello?
Yeah?
I'm just going to stick to fish oil.
Well, game number 1, everybody forgot about Weaken, and he literally won the game. We watched everybody forget about the Hunters in game number 1 as well, and they were just allowed to free cast, and everybody went home with a quadra kill. Here again, people forgetting about Paul. So, yeah, I got to eat that ginkgo biloba.
Oh, this could be trouble now for Scary D. He's still getting committed on pretty heavily by Luminosity, but Geno is gone.
I love that Scary D gets the credit for that one, too. On the backside, though, Kiki likely to get him, and he will. Solo laner taking advantage of that one. Like that play there. But yeah, Scary D just gets jumped on, and his teammates help him out, and he just turns around and goes, wah, Gets the kill. I like it.
I've also just got to point it out. Keegs went from being level 10 to 12 in a heartbeat, and Paul still level 13. Keegs did a great job catching up.
Yeah. That's been something that I've noticed about keegsmate is the fact that he has been put down. He hasn't won every single game, quite obviously, but even when he does get put down, he finds a way to claw his way back into the game and always make an impact. I noted that in game number 1, despite the loss for Trifecta, Zapman had an outlandish game, right? I find myself saying that about keegsmate a lot, where his team lost, but he still went 4-0-4. Or his team lost, but he still stole the Fire Giant. These are things that keegsmate, I think, has really solidified. This is why I think keegsmate has solidified himself as a Pro League player very early on here in his Smite game career.
And that, to me, it does take a certain level of understanding also that I think some players haven't really managed to bridge the gap between at a more ranked casual level.
Sure.
It really is the little things that can amount to so much more in competitive play, and that is why even the simplest misplays or out of position moments can amount to such massive turnarounds.
There was, oh man, memory failing me, baby. I need the Ginkgo biloba. But there was a game earlier on in the week where the game was lost because a player was up maybe a character length. And so he was able to be caught out by one of the long-range abilities from Thoth, I think it was, and they lose the game.
Picture
Mask.
perfect blink dash there.
Yeah, Mask just going for Weaken. Trouble on the back line. keegsmate trying to save his jungler, and that's exactly what he'll do. Weaken safe and sound, heading back to base. Trifecta go deep, and the reason they go deep, Gold Fury's up in a second.
Not to mention Luminosity's red buff, which I'm pretty sure everybody from Trifecta still wants to stick around for. Weaken and keegsmate haven't made it out of their base just yet. They could be there for the defense on the Gold Fury, but that's if Trifecta don't end up burning it outright.
Yeah, we got about 14 seconds before the Gold Fury respawns, and that might have been, it was 30 seconds, right, when everybody back to base. And that will be enough time for Luminosity to be here and local. So Trifecta a little bit more trepidatious about this objective. But right now, they're just going to walk away from it and go back to the lanes. And I like that call. I think that the window of opportunity, not as big as it might have seemed at first.
Better safe than sorry to an extent. And I think there is Mask goes in for the flashy play, and he gets it. Blink into the fire spin wheels, and that's always a fun time. But even though he takes Weaken on a bit of an adventure, he doesn't end up sending him back to base on his own accord. And that was the big thing there, is that Mask couldn't confirm the kill. Weaken gets to live to see another day, and knowing that the Mercury was going to be rejoining the fight with a Rage intact, bit too risky to stick around for. Yeah,
it's certainly a little bit scary. Mark, now, this is what I was talking about, where you get boots, and whatever your first item is, cool, dude. That's up to you, right? Stone Cutting Sword, Katana. Don't build something dumb, but, you've got a couple of options there. But now you got to build crit. And now we're going to see the crit, and now we're going to see the big boy plays. Ultimate's coming out of keegsmate, cutting Scary D down to about half HP. NeiruMah stuck in the wall, but helped out by his friends. Weaken cuts from right to left, and Zapman cuts Kiki all the way home. Weaken taking care of the enemy jungler, 4-on-4 so far. Trouble, Scary D surrounded, pops the ultimate, jumps away, but Clout gets him from a distance.
All they have to do is avoid the damage from Paul, and they've managed it successfully. Luminosity pulling this Gold Fury. Paul, NeiruMah, and Zapman still sticking around to see what they can help out with, but knowing full well that this 4v3 is not a very favorable situation to be in.
Yeah, Luminosity still very scared, even if they have the numbers advantage. Paul, NeiruMah, and Zapman, even without the ultimates, still scary enough to send Luminosity away from the objective.
Just respect.
Yeah.
From Luminosity entirely, because Keeks has those Agni bombs. Could they outconfirm Paul? Probably. But why risk your team dying in the process?
That's what I was going for. I think they obviously get the Gold Fury there, no problem. But Paul's Raijin probably kills everybody. He just tosses out the 2, hits the 1, and then Zapman sends a ricochet in their general direction. And I think you see a triple kill go to somebody.
You know what I really like, though, about Luminosity? They are not wasting any time to get their anti-heal online. They've got the Curse Dunk already. keegsmate even choosing to opt for the Divine Ruin as opposed to a Spear of the Magus, I think is a really important buy here, because Spear would undoubtedly be more damage for an Agni. But the Divine, just to ensure that Trifecta don't get the healing benefits of their Guan Yu, I think that's the real power play in the moment.
I agree. And Guan has been consistently one of my more favored healers, even when he's not good. Right now, he's very good, just a side note. When you look at the big burst healers or the big, what everybody looks at as the healers, right? When you look at the Ra's, when you look at the Aphrodites, anti-heal is what you should build there, don't get me wrong, but it's more spotty. You can wait till later on. With the Guan, he's just such a constant threat in every team fight with those heals that you've got to shut it down early. And I think the Divine Ruin and a lot of the other options that we see Luminosity going for is a great move against NeiruMah.
And one more time, I think we're about to see the Gold Fury dance that we're all a little bit too familiar with by now, but it's to be expected. Trifecta wasting no time whatsoever. Weekend's got that Sonic Boom charge. He's going to come tearing straight through the center of everybody from Trifecta.
And he's looking for Zapman, but he's able to wiggle on out of there. Gold Fury reset one more time. Ultimate from Scary D. Puts Kiki right in the Suns, in trouble, but able to walk away no problem. Mask finishes him off. Paul with the last hit onto Kiki. The 5-on-4 is underway. That said, Mask and NeiruMah both relatively low. Heal is good. keegsmate is alive, but Luminosity playing safe and sound. Weekend on the backside. There's Vision, though. Mask blinks over the wall, finds him with the ultimate. 3 shots for Weekend, lands in the middle of Trifecta. And down goes Luminosity's jungler, easy peasy. And the Gold Fury lined up. Trifecta taking this one home.
Well, we can just assume that no one knew he was there because Trifecta didn't bother with him the first time around.
Yeah.
They completely ignored him. And then, as he lies in wait one more time, they didn't want to risk a made you look crit being the ultimate secure for that Gold Fury. So why not take care of the problem?
I love that. I love that mind game. I'm a big card player, right? And that's a bluff. They see him the first time, but that's also a bait of the Gold Fury. They're not full committing. They're looking for the team fight. So they're saying, look, don't show the hand yet. Don't show that we have the ward vision. Just we're baiting. We're looking for the team fight. We see Weekend, but screw him. We're going to the other players. And now we're full committing. All right, Mask, go take care of him real quick. And they use their information. They hide their information. And the hidden information is ultimately what gave Weekend the confidence to go where he was at. He wouldn't have been there if he knew that there was a ward there. So he gets in trouble. Trifecta do a great job. And because of it, the objective go in their direction. 3,000 gold. Luminosity's senior at 21 minutes.
And I just like the patience play out of Trifecta. They took their time with that Gold Fury. And I think that's actually the first time we really saw Trifecta showing some signs of restraint. Because beforehand, they were just gung-ho about everything. They were looking to just collapse and collapse right then and there.
Now.
But game 2, they're taking their time. They're slowing down the pacing. And I think that's giving them just more time to see the bigger picture.
Yeah, there's a lot of threats that Luminosity are throwing in their direction. And Trifecta has been able to answer back a little bit better this time. And I think it's very, very important to sort of internalize the enemy playstyle. Earlier, we were discussing how it's the battle of the junglers, both on the desk and here on commentary. And honestly, 1, 2, and 5 for Mask. He is second on the player damage. 1, 1, and 2 for Weekend. And has not been battle of the junglers. And it's really been kind of entire team fights, which has been really interesting to watch, where Luminosity and Trifecta have both really just, as a unit, found their victories.
I like that Luminosity are more than willing to still take the fight. They totally understand the amount of damage their team composition can do, and that's more than enough to still keep Trifecta on the edge of their seats. They can't jump the gun too soon because one missed execution on a pick, and there's enough sustain, I think, on Luminosity's side even to still match that of what NeiruMah's trying to introduce. And I think that's also part of the reason why we see Scary D opting for that meditation, just looking to go back and forth with Kiki. And I also love how Kiki rushed that Cursed Ankh upgrade. That 20% increased damage against Trifecta is the main reason why we see Trifecta having to play it safe.
I mean, what the scary part about 20% extra damage, right? If NeiruMah does happen to hit the Guan heal, which is going to heal multiple players, God forbid, Keegs catches them in a bomb stun, because everybody's dying. Everybody's dying with that. So Very, very scary stuff for Trifecta, should Luminosity use that successfully. Got to keep an eye on that one in the next team fight for sure. As Luminosity trying to, I won't say claw their way back into this one. They're only down 4,000 gold, Taco, and as you noted, certainly still willing to take the fights, but they are behind. Make no bones about it. Trifecta trying to keep this lead intact.
This could be trouble for Scary D, whoever. He's gone a little bit too deep here now, looking for the proxy, but instead,
Ignored.
Weekend and I believe Kiki, they thought that he went a different direction.
Yeah, just kind of.
That was probably a pick if they went the right way, but they'd go left, and Scary D, he went right.
Lost in the jungle. This was one of my favorite things about Season 5. Cabrakan caught up by Mask, but relatively tanky now, and the ultimate, beautiful. Can't follow me, dog.
First it was a Thor wall from last game. Now it's going to be Kiki's secondary wall of choice with
the geometry, man.
The tectonic shift. Those plates always in the way.
Yeah, just can't get through to him. Ouch. Kiki getting on out of there. That's one of my favorite things about the Season 5 map is the twists and turns in the jungle. When we were first learning it, when we were play testing the jungle, the map last year, the amount of times that like I just got lost. And then Pon would kill you, right? You're just like, whoa, and for what it's worth, they were also changing the map every week. So where did this rock come from? What is this going on here?
My favorite iteration, though, when they were first still under development and trying things out, remember those really narrow corridors that, like, Kepri legitimately had to wiggle through? And it was like, how does his butt even make it past that?
I do remember that. I also remember the whirlpools that aggro would keep putting down and getting team wiped in those tiny corridors. So kind of remain the same, but another pull from Geno again. And Mask will get out of there. Tiny corridors abound. And Mask loses half of his HP. Gold Fury again, the target focus for these teams.
Luminosity going to be the first ones to aggress it. However, as Paul looking to get the poke damage where he can. Connects with Kiki, though, so that should have been his Soul Reaver proc.
Oh, the sun's going to be dropped out here by Zapman. Ultimate from Paul. One player isolated. Kiki down for the count. But Scary D again pulled by Geno. I mean, these Sylvanus pulls. I understand. I see that Scary D got out of there. Good for him. I'm still giving credit where it's due. The pulls from the Sylvanus are silly.
But Luminosity aren't healthy enough to take this fight. Now that Scary D's had a chance to back and teleport right into the fight.
Watch out, Keegs. Keegs is here. Luminosity just barely don't steal that one. I cut you off because I thought that was Lumi's steal. I really did.
All right, now it might still be Luminosity's loss even further still. Zapman going to get credit for the kill onto Geno. Mass didn't have the ultimate, but the sash is more than enough setup for the Hunter. And with that pick, 2 members from Luminosity still dead, although Kiki's ready to revive any second here. It's the Fire Giant, though, that Trifecta want.
Yeah, Weekend already took the little guy, Pyromancer. Fire Giant, on the other hand, very easy to kill here. Mask with one of the best steroids in the game. People always forget about Naja's ability to burn objectives and burn players down. But there it is. Oh, the sash just barely missed Weekend. Here it is on the horse. Still going to get stunned out. Beans after the fact. Kiki finds a wall. And a nice move there coming out from the jungler and the solo side of Luminosity. But they're down. Tier 1 tower. Easy peasy. 6,000 gold in favor of Trifecta.
Having to use that tectonic shift, though, so early on, it was only for getting away from that T1 tower. I like the collapse that Trifecta just did immediately. They went straight from the Fire Giant into Luminosity, trying to take that fight head on because they knew the other members from Lumi wouldn't be anywhere near. And as a result, I mean, you get a free ultimate from Kiki. You're most likely going to hedge immediately, either keep pushing down the right-hand lane or back and spend the gold that you just acquired.
All right, now we're going to have a brief pause. So far, Trifecta have been up, looking really strong against Luminosity. Continued fights around the Gold Fury, and Luminosity have wound up on the bad side of them, unfortunately for them and their fans, throughout the entirety of the game. Trifecta on the other side, trying to stretch this to a game 3, and I think their play is certainly putting them in position to do so.
I think that this is going to be cutting it down to the wire for sure. I mean, Luminosity, for as strong as the start of this game looked, I don't feel as though Weekend has been connecting on enough of these sonic booms and special deliveries, and that has been one of the main issues that they've really run into. They need that setup to be there. So whether he can change it later on, it's still a little bit too early to say, but that last Gold Fury fight, if he ends that sonic boom just a little bit sooner, he overshot it way too hard.
A little bit rough there. Let's get back into game in just a moment. Sorry about the technical delays. 3, 2, 1. I think we're ready to go. Not yet, sorry. But, sorry, got juked out. But here, I think this is really just about the fact that Mercury can still be Mercury in the late game. He will still be able to build the crit. And then at the end of the day, I mean, it doesn't matter if Mercury's 0-10. If he's got 3 items of crit and just hits you with 1, I mean, that can be the beginning of the end. So I think that Luminosity definitely in a position to lose this game. But with a Mercury on board, you can never count them out.
I kind of want to see Weekend maybe go for a Mantle of Discord or even a Mag-Eyes, just because with the Mag-Eyes Cloak or Mantle, he'll have a little bit more survivability.
Sure.
And that little stun or the ability to avoid a stun, either way, it's just going to be more helpful in confirming some of that Mercury damage.
He's going the Aussie, which is an interesting direction.
I like the Aussie.
I just want to point out the 2,000 crit that Mask had. I know it's against a jungle camp, but it's still fun. The Aussie's an interesting choice. And again, I think when it comes down to Mercury, you've got this world of playstyle where it's not a dirty word. Aussie is going to allow Weekend, and I think that Aussie makes much more sense with the Hasten Katana build, where it's going to allow him to stay in this team fight. He's going to be able to just hit maximum velocity, his steroid, amp his attack speed up by 70%, folks, and then just kind of punch his way through the team fight, right? Aussie will help him keep sustained. So not going the defensive route that you offered, but the Aussie, in a weird way, is a defensive option for Weekend.
Speaking of which, trying to utilize it right now against Scary D, and will take out a decent amount of his health for it, but it's only Weekend and Scary D in this solo lane. Weekend trying to put some split pressure down for Trifecta, because they didn't respond to it very well last game.
Yeah, I mean, that's a nice understatement. NeiruMah taking the tower here. Yeah, if you're just joining us, they didn't respect Weekend split push. And Weekend split pushed the Titan and won the game. So, oh yeah, that's got to be fresh in Trifecta's mind.
Scary D probably permanently on Weekend patrol for this split push. He's not looking to go down twice in the same fashion. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, yeah, that's kind of on you.
Yeah, and Mercury even more adept at soloing the Titan than the previous choice of Arlong Shen. So. Tier 2 tower going down. Trifecta collecting the 1,500 right there. And a half hour in, Trifecta have 2/3 of the kills. 10 to Luminosity's 15. 81-1-1 is the goal.
But also, you have to remember, Trifecta tried to siege Luminosity's mid-Phoenix last game, and the only reason why that mid-Phoenix of theirs was gone to begin with is because Lumi held out.
Well, Mask in the air, taking one player with him, and Weekend's dead. That's a bad look for Luminosity. Trifecta now. Very matter-of-factly, as I pair my tone together with the playstyle of Trifecta, looking for the Phoenix. And like I said, very matter-of-factly. None of this looks like they're exerting too much. They're just kind of hanging out, looking for an opportunity. Scary D tanking up the objective so that the rest of Trifecta might be able to leak in.
They've got to try and hold for 30 seconds, though, without Weekend. Those Blink ultimates from Mask have been so precise all game long. That has been the big difference. We talked about it at the very start of this game. It would come down to the wire between these junglers, and it certainly has.
I mean, 1, 2, and 8, I referenced the slash slide before, but that 8 so important. There's the ultimate from Zapman, trying to keep players at a distance, and Paul going to go into his ultimate as well, largely a wasted ultimate from the mid lane Raijin. Luminosity on the chase now, but pretty much not a big deal. Great defensive set from LG.
Trifecta just couldn't commit. Even with only 4 members alive from Luminosity, no one felt comfortable just flat out tanking the Phoenix.
Just wasn't able to. Couldn't find that positioning. I like that Mask didn't force the ultimate. Sometimes you find yourself forcing that, right? Not going to be the case. But that's troublesome for Trifecta going forward. I mean, they have everything but the Fire Giant. And they couldn't break the Phoenix with a player advantage, right? I mean, that's got to be troubling.
I honestly think Trifecta could have probably sieged there. Either way, I think that they were just a little bit too paranoid to want to fully commit. Yes, you know Luminosity's 4 remaining members are still going to be able to deal a large amount of damage, but Keeks has been using his bombs to clear the creep waves. Just time it in between the Agni ult.
Yeah, I mean, all 3 bombs were down. Definitely could have went in there, but Trifecta playing it a little bit safe. If you ask us, perhaps a little bit too safe. Fire Giant respawning now. Trifecta here and local. Luminosity. Taco, is that a mistake?
Not looking to siege?
Or giving the Fire Giant to Trifecta?
Oh, no.
Because Luminosity were here, took down the minor objective that was the Pyromancer, and then 5-man back to base. I mean, they're down 8,000 gold, but that's not a fight they can take.
But if you successfully defend on your right-hand Phoenix with only 4 members, why would you ever care about the Fire Giant? Speaking of which, keegsmate going to get caught out of position here. This is going to be a massive problem now for Luminosity, because that was probably the sole reason why Trifecta didn't want to commit in the first place on that right-hand Phoenix. Clout and Weekend off in the left-hand side, been split pushing for a century now, and they're going to end up losing their right-hand Phoenix.
Yeah, this is a dead right-side Phoenix, and Trifecta going to back off, not go for the gold. With the call, though, Clout staying there in the left side lane. If Trifecta go to look for the Titan, Clout backs to base. But since they're not, he's going to get a tier 2 tower on the left-hand side. Likely back after this one, though. I don't want to see him go for the Phoenix, and that's exactly what he'll do. Mid lane, Phoenix half down.
2 Phoenixes lost. Speaking of lost, though, so is Kiki. His life is forever depleted because of Mask, and those crits are just absurd.
Yeah, too intense. Mask on top. There's the Suns on top of the Titan. Half HP. And folks, looks like we're going to a game 3, but Luminosity trying to stop it. Nope, just kidding. Titan goes down. 6 kills for Luminosity. Trifecta with a baker's dozen. And 33 minutes on the clock. This one goes the way of Trifecta.
They might have found Zapman at the end there, but at the cost of their own Titan. I think Keegs getting picked in that solo lane side is what really spelled the end of this one. Giving it the Fire Giant, that's one thing. Having your mid laner push by himself in the solo lane closest to the Fire Giant, that's just something Keek should have never been there to begin with.
It's a rookie mistake, and honestly, you know, I think it's a good thing, because we know that he's human, right? I mean, Keeks had a stellar performance these past couple of splits, and seeing it sort of it's a bonehead mistake, right? That's just an oops. And what can you do, you know? So Keeks has to fix that going forward.
There were more issues, though, that happened than just that one alone, because sure, Keeks dies, and that probably is the reason why they end up losing the game.
Probably.
Sure, but they could have also avoided being in that position to begin with, just from the early to mid game. It just felt like Luminosity had completely 180 from their game 1 performance. I mean, it felt way more back and forth, but Mask, I think, really just amped it up.
Yeah, Mask, outlandish play, totally set the table. Said this is the battle of the junglers. I doubled down and said the same thing. And Mask, well, I think he came through. Is he the MVP? Let us know in Mixer chat, because I think I'm leaning towards Mask. He brought us to game 3. Desk, let's break it down.
Thanks, Tom. Thanks, Taco. Game 3 is on the horizon. We got to break down what happened there in Game 2 first. Finch and Toli here tell you a little bit more about what happened. And Mask definitely was the catalyst for the early game, but I mean, you cannot deny Paul was there for the follow-up the whole game for them as well in the Raijin. A lot of good picks for the MVP.
And surprisingly enough, going for the Raijin over the Thoth, it was still available. Raijin does a lot of damage in its own right, has a lot of scaling if you can do the Bancroft's Talon Rush that Paul so likes to do, and without a single death going unpunished. LG try to make the plays, but when you're immobile while you're playing Cabrakan for KikiSoCheeky, Sylvanus for Geno during some of their abilities, that makes it easy prime targets, whether it's the Percussive Storm or the Taiko Drums.
And it sounds like it is going to be Mass selected as the MVP on that Naja with a great bounce back game. Actually had a great game one, really. They kind of just let that one play get away from them towards the end where LG were able to take that victory. But this is what he did such a good job of, punishing KikiSoCheeky over in the solo lane. This was, I believe, that very first kill, the first blood of the game. And Kiki really never got off the ground on this Cabrakan. Neither really did Weaken on the Mercury. Even when he could find good sonic booms, Mask was right there to track him down.
It is the Guardian versus Guardian battle in the solo lane. So whichever jungler makes their presence felt first is going to tip that battle into your own favor. And Mask was there first, so he applied a little bit of a burn onto the fat Loki, and Kiki could never get off the ground, unfortunately. And you were talking about Weaken on the Mercury. Didn't have the same kind of performance that he did on the Erlang Shin.
That's right.
He wasn't playing, you know, that cleanup crew the way he would have wanted to. The rest of his teammates falling behind a little bit too quickly, and keegsmate on the Agni, as a result, couldn't really do much that game.
And unfortunately, I think that's partially because Kiki struggled a little bit.
Yep.
There would be times where Weaken would have a good ultimate, but Assassins would like to get lost in the team fight, right? They sort of like to be like, oh, maybe you lost track of me and I'm on the backline Hunter, I'm on the backline Mage. Weaken never really had that opportunity. He always had to dash back out and try and reposition.
And it was just the objective control from Trifecta as a result of some of their early game plays that started to trickle down into their grasp, and